Hey guys, Kendra Chapman here. We're going to be talking about 3 ways to trust your inner voice again. And my guest this week is Rachael Schmidt. She's going to share 3 strategies: how to use breath awareness to sharpen your clarity, incorporating some small daily actions to strengthen that intuitive muscle, and a reminder not to ignore that voice that comes from your gut, because that might be the root for your indecision and burnout. So if you've been feeling disconnected, overwhelmed, or unsure of your next move, stay with us. This conversation might be what you're looking for.
So for me, I've always felt an intuitive connection, and I've had the ability to recognize and even internalize, emotion of other people, energy, those types of things. And so as a mindfulness-based self-development coach, I really try to incorporate intuition as a foundation for people. So in working with individuals, I've found, because I do have a very broad range of people that I've worked with, I say everyone and anyone, we all have this common thread, is that we have this beautiful inner voice, this guide, this compass that I call our intuition. It speaks softer for some people, it speaks louder for others, but it is a voice that can always be honed and developed. And the more we use it, the more we rely on it, the stronger the relationship gets with it. So my story is really one about taking what I've been naturally gifted with and expanding it and trying to help others build one experience, one moment at a time, because so many people that I talk to can relate to intuitive moments. They really can. They say, oh, I felt this. I knew not to go there. I immediately got a vibe from somebody that I've encountered. Something just told me that I should move forward with this other job opportunity. So your intuitive voice is really the core of who you are. And unfortunately, we underutilize this voice. It just has been given a back seat. It should be in the front seat along with us, steering the car. So intuition is really the foundation of self-connection.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, everybody has experienced a moment, at least one, maybe more, when they've felt an inner knowing, or maybe they've heard an inner voice saying, don't do that, or don't go there, or maybe go a different way to work, or, you're just not getting the right vibe from somebody that you have just met. Whether or not we listen to it is like the point where we make a decision. And the more we either ignore or the more we lean into that, I think is where, that moment is that maybe you can kind of unpack for us. How do we learn to trust that intuition?
Such an important question. I want everyone listening to think about your intuition as your collaborator. You are a team. Your intuition is quite literally you working on your behalf. Okay, so it is a trusted advisor. It is a voice that we do not question. For many people, just like in any type of other relationship they have, it will take time to strengthen the relationship. So for others, not so much, but you want to take action and see the results. So when we have those intuitive moments, we want to always do your due diligence. There's a lot of people who they're not going to get to their intuition until they've done all their due diligence. I'd like it to be the other way around, but understandably for some, it takes time. So think of a collaboration. I've done my homework, I've checked things out, and now I must lean into myself and I make a decision. I act. And then I manage the repercussions of those actions. Now, the good thing about intuition is the outcome is in your favor. And that's the big difference. The outcome is in your favor. So when we have those moments where we say, I'm going to trust myself, I'm going to trust my intuition, and then we have an action, we take an action, and then we experience the connectedness of our intuition and the action that we have taken. And we experience the outcome as being positive. Okay, so that's the thing. When we make decisions with our ego, with our heart, sometimes even with our bodies, the outcome isn't necessarily always in our favor, right? But when we lead with our most trusted advisor, we will start to see over time, wait a minute, why have I been suppressing this all this time? I'm making decisions that I know resonate, that I know are in alignment with my most connected, my most authentic self. Why? Because I'm leaning into me more. And that is the key piece, because we are really in a connection crisis, okay? Because we have become way too dependent on external resources, social media, technology, other people, our environments, our work environments, our home environments, to tell us who we are. So we have handed our power over to all of these external influences. And now we're all sitting on the edge of our seat, waiting for the answers to come, with higher rates of anxiety, higher rates of depression, higher rates of stress than we've ever seen. So there's a missing piece, and the missing piece is you. You are the missing piece. We have to stop outsourcing so much. So when we get back in and we listen to our intuition and we take action and we see the results of that action, how those actions enhance our lives, we begin to build trust with our intuition. Again, it's not new. It's a reunion. You've already been here before. You came like this.
Yeah, I like that you have kind of explained, why maybe somebody may not be listening, may not be hearing that intuition right now, because maybe they're inundated with lots of outside stimulation, stress, what have you. So, and knowing that if they do take a moment to try to listen and then act on it and then note what happens, is what you've kind of shared as like a strategy to start kind of taking data, start thinking about how it's working for you. What might be a small intentional habit that could help somebody kind of track that or help strengthen that inner knowing?
There's so many small acts or micro actions somebody can take throughout the day. Anything from waking up and setting an intention for your day, going to bed, setting an intention for the following day, reflecting on your day, connecting with yourself. My favorite activity, sitting alone with yourself for 5 minutes with no agenda and no expectation. I mean, when is the last time you've done that? Just sit. Reconnect with what you came with. And again, we don't want to assign an expectation to it, but any type of small micro action is really going to help someone lean into themselves more. Making one small decision. If you're normally somebody who may even struggle to pick out an item on a menu and you're waiting for everyone else to order, take a risk. You have to take a risk. Order what you want and experience that feeling. So there are so many things we all struggle with in our own ways every day. And so we've got to be willing to take a risk. You've got to do something different. And you've got to prioritize your self-connection. So when we start our day with the right mindset, with the right intention, we're setting the tone for the rest of the day. And if we forgot to do it in the morning, let's do it at night. In terms of self-connection, there are infinite ways you can self-connect. You want to go towards the things that resonate, that bring you joy, so that you can remember what it feels like. Okay, so we want to think about going towards what brings us joy. We want to talk about purposeful action, getting up, walking around in your office. You need a break, go for a walk for 5 minutes, just relax. Don't catch up on, your shows while you're walking around on your phone. Just relax and be with yourself. It's the reconnection of the self. So I always like to tell people, start creating your own formula, your own algorithm for what feels good and feels right. So that's going to look different for everybody, but just as a baseline starting point, think about what brings me joy. Where do I feel alive? Where do I feel like me? And go and participate in those things. Spend quality time with yourself. 5 minutes in today's modern world is quality time with yourself, uninterrupted, just you. And set your intentions, make them clear. I would say start there and see where it takes you.
Yeah, you've given us some things to think about, some small micro steps towards figuring out how your intuition can guide you a little bit more every day. And you've also, in our pre-chat, you mentioned a little bit about breath and awareness and how that's literally been a survival tool for you. Can you share one of those stories with the audience?
Well, I mean, I've always found the breath to be a powerful tool organically, naturally. I've been a big practitioner of yoga and fitness and wellness and all that kind of stuff. So, of course, I've been familiar with the breath, but there was about 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with a rare vestibular disorder called superior semicircular canal dehiscence. It's basically, the simple term is my brain is kind of resting on my superior ear canal without a nice strong bone structure. And this creates a third window in the inner ear, and it can really wreak havoc on somebody. You've got dizziness constantly. You can hear your own heartbeat. You have sound-induced vertigo. It's just a really kind of cruel disorder. And I ended up having a craniotomy. And while I was awaiting my surgery, I had this incredible euphoria, like a claircognizance about breath. And I just started to become hyper aware of my breath. And I was gifted one of just the most peaceful moments of my entire life. By the way, this is before the drugs were administered, just so we're clear. And I just felt this powerful connection to breath in that moment in a way that I never have before. And that's what started the evolution of what I call in my book common sixth sense skills. The common sixth sense, which is, wait a minute, you mean I have this powerhouse of an innate tool within me and I am not using it to its full potential? And that kind of opened up Pandora's box, if you will, of learning about the breath, experiencing the breath, teaching others about the breath. And although I don't consider myself a breath coach, I am more about helping you become more aware of your own breath. So how many breaths do you think we take every day, Kendra, if you had to guess?
I would say it's in the thousands, I would assume, or, definitely up there pretty high.
Yeah, so 20,000 roughly.
Mm,
And how many of those are we even aware of? For most of us, not
yeah.
even one in one single day. So I always want to encourage people to just start becoming aware of your breath, because your breath, what I've discovered about the breath is that the breath, that space in between breaths, removes all of our suffering. So if we just breathe through anything, traffic, a difficult conversation, um, doesn't matter what it is, somebody getting your order wrong, you just breathe and the suffering dissipates and then you return back to yourself. So the breath is something that we all need to invite into our lives, to reclaim our relationship with and start using to our advantage so that we can bring more peace, more clarity, more calm, and more
Mhm.
connection back into our lives.
Yeah. And it sounds so simple. Just breathe. Just sit for 5 minutes. All of these moments that you've shared, all these micro steps sound so simple, but we just don't take the time to lean in and get comfortable with them. So, it's our challenge, it's our homework for everybody out there listening. Be intentional about your breath and be intentional about the time that you spend listening. That's
It's
all
true.
that Rachel's saying right now.
Yeah, and it's true. It is true. I think that we all can probably admit we've heard, hey, just breathe more times than we, care to hear. And so what I like to do is take it a step further. Okay, now you have taken a breath. Now what? That's what it's about. Now I feel back in my body. What's next? What's next is the action you take. Okay. And sometimes the right course of action is doing nothing, just staying in the breath. And sometimes the course of action is making a big lifestyle change or letting go of a friendship that doesn't serve you anymore, or changing the narrative in that inner voice that is detrimental to your well-being. Not only does the breath return us to ourselves, but the breath gives us information that gives us awareness. And from that awareness, we now have self-awareness. And that is where all the good stuff lives. because now you have self-awareness. So now you're more educated and informed about the right course of action for you. And what course of action are we talking about? The kind that leads you closer to your more authentic, your more peaceful, and your more connected life. So when we think about a simple statement like just breathe, let's shift our mindset a little bit and think about, okay, I took some breaths. I feel back in myself. Now what? Let me use this as a contemplative moment in my life to enhance my life. So there's so much more, within that moment that's happening that you can use to your advantage. The other thing is, you were saying how people just don't take time, and you're absolutely right. And I think the reality is that using our breath, these mindful activities, self-connection, they are not something reserved for next Friday night. They are for now. They are for an hour from now. They are for tonight at 9 p.m. We have to think of it. We have to think about our well-being, about mindfulness, about self-awareness as being a lifestyle. And the cool thing about it is once you start it, you don't become unaware. You just become more aware and more aware and more aware. And it's just like this beautiful thing that happens when you make the commitment that you want to keep elevating your life.
Yeah, I see it as like the new dopamine. Instead of getting on your phone and scrolling and looking for that reinforcement there, you think of your body as the way to that doorway of getting that dopamine that's really going to help you is breathing
So
and sitting
true.
in
And
stillness.
yeah. And when you think
Yeah.
about those things, those go-to things for people, the social media, the technology that we know through research and through our own information we're gathering in our mind, our body, our spirit, our heart, when we participate in those things, there's always a point that we reach where your body and your mind and other voices within you are telling you this isn't healthy anymore. This is mindless. This is not enhancing your life. And that's where the action comes in play,
Mm-hmm.
because most people will just continue forward engaged in this negative activity that they know affects their well-being in this negative way, but they still participate.
Mm-hmm.
So it is action, everything. I always say awareness is one thing, but action is everything.
Yeah.
You can be aware of you're the
Yeah.
most insightful person in the world, but unless you act upon it,
Mm-hmm.
it's just awareness.
Right. Like if I want to lose 30 pounds, I can read all about healthy recipes and buy all the great, healthy foods. But if I'm putting junk into my body, I'm not going to lose the weight. If I'm not moving, I'm not going to lose the weight. So I definitely have to act in addition to being aware for
Yeah,
sure.
we have to
Yeah.
act, but we also have to have, self-compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and recognize that we are all just trying to navigate this life through the lens of life that we have.
Mm-hmm.
I write about what I call the lens of life, which is, some people have these really wide, vast lenses, and some people have these incredibly narrow, rigid, small lenses, and we waste so much energy and time trying to widen those lenses of those narrow lens people, but we should be really more focused on continuing to widen our own.
Mm-hmm. And it's in some ways, I think the universe is going to intervene. Like you said, and unfortunately, we're going to come across some sort of crisis in our body or something that happens outside of us that we're required to stop and pause and listen, whatever that looks like. But eventually, we're going to be stopped in our tracks and we're going to have to deal with whatever we've been putting to the side. Unfortunately for you, it was time in the hospital or, time where you had to take care of your health. For me, similar. I had a bleeding ulcer that landed me in an ambulance rushing to the hospital, and I had to have 3 transfusions. I mean, it's just interesting. The more people I talk to, the more they share that there was some sort of change in their life where they had to pay attention. And wouldn't it be amazing if we could, pay attention before something like that happens?
It's so true. Yeah, none of us are getting out unscathed. That I do. The older
Yeah.
I get. But, I think it's important to understand that we have many voices within us, just like we have many external voices of, I'm going to call it energy, coming at us all the time. That ego mind likes to be in charge. And our body has this incredible alarm system that just alerts us constantly, and we don't listen. People will painstakingly search outside of themselves for answers. And your body will pretty much tell you everything you need to know for the most part. Our heart voice, it can get a little confusing sometimes because the heart has very good intentions, but that doesn't always mean that it's going to lead you in the right direction. But that voice that I'm really trying to get everybody to focus on, that we'll call it the spirit voice, the gut voice, the intuitive voice, that voice will not lead you down the wrong path ever, under any circumstances. So most people already have what I would consider a significant level of knowing already.
Yeah, it's just whether they're tapping into it, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like somebody might have a chronic pain that they're just going to pretend isn't there, or a toxic relationship that they just can't or don't want to deal with getting out of. We all have quite a bit of evidence and alarms notifying us, but we've got to take the risk to address those things and act. When you want to be the best caretaker of yourself, when you want to live with the greatest well-being that you possibly can within your control, you have to take a risk. And that means you have to do something different. And you don't have to do it alone because your intuitive voice is going to guide you. I think there's a lot of people out there right now feeling like they are navigating all of this all alone. And we have more resources than we have ever had before. We have more resources when it comes to well-being and health and medicine, mental health, but yet people just are feeling more and more isolated, more lonely, more like they are on an island on their own. And I just want to remind people that you have you. And that is the forgotten piece.
So in those moments where, like you've shared, I've shared, where we do unfortunately have a crisis, I think you talk about this in your book or your writing where you talk about the 5-step Jolt to action process. Can you walk us through how it transforms a crisis moment into a growth opportunity, just in a little bit more detail?
Of course. So let's just think about a jolt. A jolt is, let's call it a trigger, let's call it a wave. You can make it your own. It's something that makes you feel outside of yourself. Maybe something someone said, something they did, something they didn't do, something they did do, a memory from the past, a body ache, doesn't matter. So we all can relate to a jolt, a trigger. Now, if we take a jolt or a trigger, we'll call that a big energy surge in our body. Okay. What many people do is they feel the surge, the jolt, and then they just simply react. Okay. Maybe their reaction is they get angry, they project on somebody, they internalize it, they avoid it completely as though it's not there. They react to it in their own unique way. That is disconnection. Now, if we get a jolt and we work through the jolt, we form a connection. Okay, so let's just say, for example, we get jolted. We feel this energy surge in our body. Now we feel like we have kind of left our body. I use an example like someone hitting a gong and the vibration just kind of takes you out of yourself. And then we use our breath. Always use your breath first. That's key to any situation you're ever in. Always use the breath first. So we breathe, we return to our body. Okay, maybe that's 2 breaths for you. Maybe that's 5 breaths for somebody else. Maybe it's 1 breath for somebody. We feel the jolt, and instead of instantly reacting to it, we recognize I'm out of my body right now. So I'm going to use my breath and I'm going to bring myself back to me. So then you'll start to feel this natural return back to yourself. Okay, now you feel like yourself. Now you are grounded again. Now you have to make a decision. The decision is, what conscious action are you going to take next to get closer to your most connected and your most authentic life? Okay. Maybe you do nothing because that is a healthier course of action for you. Okay. Maybe you will do something because that is the healthiest course of action for you. So we have to think a little bit differently about those moments that we get upset, triggered outside of ourselves, hurt, sad, take that moment to get back in your body first. So it's always the breath, always the return to you, and then the decision. Okay,
Yeah.
that is connection. If we just continue to get jolted, triggered, hit by waves, and react, we are disconnected from ourselves. And that takes a toll not only on us, but the people and the environments around us as well.
Yeah. It's like the universe is going to whisper. And if we don't listen, it's going to end up yelling, possibly hitting us on the head, whatever that looks like until we do listen. And then it's up to us to make that decision if we're going to make any growth.
Yeah. And I hate how the universe gives us such hard lessons sometimes because
Mm-hmm.
you really got to knock us down so that we can finally see. And what I hope to do for people is to help them not get to that point, to help them be more aware, be more active participants in their quality of life. So, many things, of course, are unavoidable and we never know what we're going to experience in this lifetime. But there is so much we can do to improve our well-being. And yeah, that's why, when the universe speaks, we listen because they have a
Yep.
lot of important messages for us, no doubt. But yeah, so next
Absolutely.
time you all get jolted by something, become aware of your own behavior. Are you just reacting or are you taking that moment to get back into yourself and make the best decision for you?
Yeah. And I think you've taken something mysterious for some, intuition, and you've made it a little bit more tangible, more of a mindful practice for hopefully for many out there listening and watching. Because now I think people have a better idea of what it could look day to day, with the breathing, with the pausing, giving yourself permission to do all those things, however that looks in your day, and not to beat yourself up about it if it doesn't, go the way you think it's going to, or you weren't able to make time for it, maybe in the morning or in the midday. Try to do it in the evening before you go to bed. So I think that you've illustrated ways for listeners and viewers to incorporate that into their practice if it's right for them.
Absolutely. And there's a lot more. When I wrote the book Common Sixth Sense, I didn't want to participate in just giving another external instruction manual to somebody. So the book is different in the sense that it's a roadmap back to you. Okay. It's a roadmap back to you. It's a journey and experience back to your greatest advisor. And it is trial and error. Absolutely. But you cannot have trial and error unless you take those risks. You do something different. There is nothing wrong with anybody listening to this podcast.
Right.
This is not work about changing you. You are you, period. Whether
Mhm.
you listen to this podcast, read my book, go to yoga class, you're still you. You're the authentic you. It's just how well do you know you right now? And if you don't feel like you know you, you're not that far from home. You're already there. It's a reunion that you might need in your life right now. You might need to reconnect with yourself. There's so many different ways you can do that. Find what works for you, follow what resonates, listen to your inner voices, be cautious about external voices. Even if they have your best interest in mind, they are just sharing their lens of life. And they don't know you the way that you know you.
And before, I'm going to make sure all your information's in the show notes so people know how to connect with you. They can get a copy of your book. But before you go, I want to just kind of check in, maybe, you've mentioned your intuition is possibly in your gut. It's not really in your heart. Your heart voice is different than your intuition or your gut. Do you feel like, do most people feel their intuition when they try to figure out where in their body they're feeling this? Do they feel it as like in their gut, literally? Or is it something that they have to walk through and kind of figure out where that's coming from? Is it here? Is it literally physically in their gut or somewhere else?
Think about how a parent or an aunt or uncle might recognize a child by their voice, by the way they look, by their energy, sensing, sixth sense sensing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
parents do this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
By a knowing. We're going to call it a knowing.
Mm-hmm.
This is your intuition. It will be incredibly clear as you strengthen your relationship with your intuition,
Mm-hmm.
where it comes from, what it feels like,
Mm-hmm.
what it sounds like. It is unique to the individual. It is that clear cognizance. It is that clear knowing. I
Mm-hmm.
just know. I
Yep.
just know. Because remember, it is you quite literally communicating with you,
Mm-hmm.
your being, your beacon of light. You make it your own, how you want to define it. So to answer your question, it's to be experienced and can only be defined by the person experiencing it.
Hmm. Do you have any insight or, I guess, advice for how someone could figure out the difference between that self-critic voice, maybe the ego, versus the intuitive, knowing voice?
Sure. Well, the ego is a storyteller, and those stories may be true and those stories may be false. The intuition is not a storyteller. The intuition is a guide with a clear roadmap. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
map you look twice at. You don't look for alternate routes. You just go with it.
So maybe you could ask, is this true of yourself? Like whatever you're hearing. And if
So,
it's true and you just know it.
yeah. And again, remember, it's in establishing a relationship. So you
Mhm.
create whatever dialogue you want.
Mhm.
I wouldn't really necessarily ask the intuition for clarification ever, personally. There's
But you
no
have a relationship with yours. You've developed that over time.
sure, but I've worked with so many people, Kendra, and
Mhm.
from so many different walks of life. And I recognize in each and every one of them that they have their own relationship with their intuition.
Mhm.
So it's not that we don't have a relationship with our intuition.
Mhm.
We just need to reunite
Mm.
with it. It's not, okay, it's stay with me on this one. It is not communicating with us. It's
Yeah.
always communicating with. We are on hamster wheels. And how can we recognize anything special, unique, invigorating if we don't slow down a little bit?
Mhm.
So, in keeping in line with your incredible podcast, the title of your incredible podcast, Slow Down.
Mhm.
Slow down. It will make itself known to you. It
Mhm.
already is. Your intuition is already, it's not something that you have to earn.
Mhm.
It's something that already exists within you.
Yeah. And for those of you out there listening or watching, Rachel is just saying you just know. And it is true. I mean, I've experienced it too. The times where I haven't listened to my intuition, it's been very few times. And I've always regretted not listening to my intuition. It's just the inner knowing. And it's not that you have this outside information coming in. It's just in your core, your gut, like Rachel said, wherever you feel it in your body, you just know that this is true and what it's going to look different and it's going to sound different and it's going to feel different for everybody. But I think you've shared just multiple ways that people can get in touch with their intuition. So I'm hoping that more will listen and try some of these strategies. And if somebody listening today wants to start strengthening their intuitive muscle, is there anything else that you want to share with them to try that you haven't already?
We briefly touched on going towards what resonates.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the breadcrumbs, so to speak. Follow the breadcrumbs. What is it that you just naturally feel pulled towards? What feels right? What doesn't feel right? What type of people do you want to surround yourself with? Think of everything like energy, because it literally is. Everything is energy. So, what direction are your thoughts going? Do you want them to go in that direction? It's that awareness piece. So, the more we can be aware of our breath, our internal voices, our external voices. I want everyone here, if I'm going to leave you with one last direction, it's to become an investigator of yourself. Put on your detective hat and start getting very curious about yourself. Why do I go towards this? This just feels wonderful. Oh my gosh, I haven't danced in years. That was amazing. Start listening. Start getting curious. Start getting intel on yourself. You are you, period. You are you. And so are you living authentically as you? Why? Why not? You got to get really, really interested and curious in yourself. And then you will start revealing things through your awareness to yourself, and you will innately and intuitively understand what works for you, what doesn't, and how you can improve your well-being so that you can really let go of some suffering, bring in more peace in your life, and live the most authentic and connected life that is rightfully yours, by the way. It's just a matter of if you're claiming it or not.
I love that. I mean, this has been an amazing conversation, Rachel. Thank you for being here. These are some big questions and big, areas to explore. And for some, it might not, they might not be ready for it, but that's okay. If you're ready to go to the next level, I hope that you will take Rachel's advice and come back to you and get to know you. So thank you again for being here, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Kendra. It was so nice talking to you. And I just wish everybody out there peace and improved well-being. And if you're feeling like you're not ready, you need to take a risk because your intuition is just patiently waiting for you.
Yeah. Just ask those questions and listen. Be ready. All right, everybody. That wraps up this episode of the Go Slow to Go Fast Lifestyle Podcast. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, uncertain, or out of touch with your inner compass, this episode is your invitation to slow down. It's your sign to tune in and trust yourself again. Rachel's insights remind us that intuition isn't woo, it's wisdom. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who's ready to live more intentionally. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It always does help to get the word out there and to get this information to those who need it and are ready for it. And if you can, consider following us on YouTube for more conversations that help you go slow and be intentional with your breath and practice. As always, the light in me honors the light in you. And as you head into the rest of your week, let your light shine through. Remember, go slow to go fast, and thanks for listening.